How's it going, guys? I'm going to show you what I have learned from scraping ceilings. I've learned some tricks that make it probably, seriously, about 400% easier. This isn't a gimmick or anything like that. I will just not keep you waiting any longer. It has to do with the choice of scraper and spatula. But I'll get into that here in a second. I'll walk you through my process of how to do this. So we bought a new place here, and we're doing some light renovations, updating it, doing ceilings, walls, and floors. Floors just need to be refinished. They're in really good condition, actually. But ceilings have textured ceilings. It's not popcorn. Popcorn, I'll show you the difference here in a minute because I do have popcorn in this house as well. But this is actually drywall mud texture. So it is a lot harder to deal with than popcorn. So because I have a finished floor, that's a hardwood floor, I am taking extra precaution to try and keep it, somewhat clean. Obviously, it's going to need to be cleaned after all this is done, but I'm going to try to keep at least like 80% of the ceiling scraping off of it. So, very first thing I do is I mix up a thing of hot water, as hot as your tap will go. But first I put in probably about that much, about 15% white distilled vinegar, and then I fill it up the rest of the way with hot water. Once again, as hot as your tap will go. Shake it up, pump it up, and then I do a light spray on the ceiling. As you can see, that dark spot. I do one quick pass to get it a little moist, but mainly what I'm doing is I'm trying to get some water to fall on the floor. Not much, I just want a nice mist on the floor because it actually holds the plastic in place very good. So I do the first spray when the plastic is not there, and then I put the plastic on the moistened floor and it holds it in place well. And then I'll come back here and I will actually spray this probably 3 or 4 more times, get it dripping, let it soak in, then spray it down again, get it dripping again. Basically, we're trying to turn this hard mud into mud back again. So you want it to soak up water. And so there's really no other way to do it other than just spray it and douse it and do it again and again. I'll spray it probably 3 separate times with the sprayer here. The initial spray and then 2 more dousings. Then I'll start scraping, and I may need to respray during scraping if it starts to dry out. So I've got the sprayer here. I've got it pumped up, and it's got plenty of water in it. I have the nozzle on a fan setting. Basically, you want a wider dispersion of water. So whatever cone, fan setting, whatever your sprayer has, adjust it to where it's spraying a wider path. You don't want a little string coming out. And I'll just spray the ceiling down. You want to coat every little inch of it. And you want to do it in sections. You don't want to do the whole room at once because it'll dry out. So I do about 10 foot by 5 foot sections. And then once it's all sprayed down, let it sit for about 4 or 5 minutes, soak in that water, and then I'll come spray it down again, let it sit for another minute or so, then I'll start scraping. While the ceiling is soaking, let's talk about this light here for a second. You like my ceiling grid LED work light I got going here? I just It's a slim profile, just wired up a plug on the back of it. I'm pretty impressed with it. So let's talk about scraper choice for this job. I have found that this is the differentiator game changer. So this one right here is just way too wide. It will not get the job done. I mean, it will, but you have to put way too much effort and work into it. So these two are very similar, but there's some very important differences in them. This one is, I'm guessing, about a 5-inch just by looking at it. I think this one's about a 3.5 or something like that. So as you can see, there's just a couple of inches difference between the two of them. In addition to that, this smaller one is a little stiffer. I don't know if I'll be able to show you the flex on it, but it doesn't flex very much. So I was pushing pretty good on that. This one flexes a lot more. It's not flexible by any means, but it has more flex to it. So the third main difference between them is that this one's the smaller one's a little newer, and it has a slightly sharper edge to it. It's not sharp by any means, but it's slightly sharper than this one. That's just rounded off. You could sharpen that a little bit if you wanted to with a file or something. But those three things make a world of difference. By far the one that works better is the smaller one. And my theory on this is because there's less surface area touching the ceiling. So the pressure you put in it is dispersed amongst a shorter distance. So you have more pressure per square inch than you do with this bigger one. And it's not as flexible, so you have more, you lose less energy and flex as well. This smaller one is about, I mean, at least 400% more effective than this bigger one I'm scraping. And I'll demonstrate that here in a minute, but it blew my mind when I discovered that. So I definitely recommend, if you're gonna do this, follow the guidelines on one like this smaller one. It'll make your life a lot easier. I also recommend, if you're gonna do this, to get yourself a little small step ladder instead of like a 6-foot or something. It's just a lot easier to maneuver around. So I've sprayed this down a third time, and now I will show you the difference on the big versus the small scraper. This is the bigger one first. Okay, and this is a smaller one. I mean, that is night and day difference. Okay, this is the bigger scraper right here. And then this is the smaller scraper. Like, that's probably more than 400% better. It's astronomical how much better that is. It's so much more effective. I can't believe I scraped half this 2,300 square foot house with that big scraper. I wanna redo on life. That took probably 10 minutes to scrape that. I'm gonna guess it's about 10 or 12 feet by 5 feet. And as you can see, I'll show you the texture difference. This is why we're doing this, just for updated appearance. Nice and smooth. So you're scraping it all the way to the paper backing on the drywall. And it's just nice and smooth. We'll sand it and mud it where it needs it. As you can see, those areas, you dig the knife corner in just a hair here and there. You can see that right there. You need to sand stuff like that off and sand it smooth, and then put some mud in and resand it and all that just to smooth it out like you would drywall that you're finishing anywhere. And then you paint it and it'll look like $1,000,000. So now I'll show you the difference of this textured drywall mud textured ceiling versus actual popcorn ceiling. Alright guys, this is popcorn ceiling. It's these little like bubble textures, and it comes off in sheets like that. It's not drywall mud, it's like some sort of a, I don't know what it is, some sort of other coating. So it's different than the texture that I showed you a minute ago, which we'll show you again right there. That's that wavy, hard drywall mud texture. That is just textured ceiling or walls is all it is with drywall mud. This is popcorn. And popcorn is super easy to get off. You know, I recommend again just a 3.5, 4-inch stiff blade scraper, and wet it down, let it soak, wet it down a couple more times, let it soak, and it literally just fillets right off. Popcorn ceiling is the easiest thing to get off, like way easier than textured ceiling. I mean, just comes right off. Let it dry and it'll clean up. I mean, you know, just wipe right away with a broom or something. There's very little cleanup that's actually needed other than, you know, sweeping it up after. You may need to clean up with a wet sponge a couple of places, but this textured drywall ceiling, this stuff is a bear. I mean, you can see down there, you have to sweep it up, you know, vacuum it up with a shop vac or something, and then inevitably you're gonna have to take a damp mop or sponge or something to the floor. So that's the difference. Either way, get a 3.5, 4-inch blade, scraper, stiff blade. You want it, I mean, you like, look at that. Like, you want a stiff blade. Get that and you'll be golden. Thanks so much for listening to me ramble, guys. But for real, I hope this makes your life super, super easier. I know it definitely has changed mine over the course of these next couple of weeks as I'm going to be finishing up this project. Thanks so much, guys.